Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. We have a new friend tonight named Francois, and he's here for the first time to hear the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Nice to have you. And welcome to all of you out there in cyberspace, wherever you are. Let's get right into it. We're a little late tonight. We're going to read a prayer for the benefit of Francois. I'm going to explain it. Of course, I do it every day anyway. Somebody's liable to be out there who doesn't know what we're doing. So we're reading a prayer by Sanatana Goswami, who was of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most recent appearance of Krishna on the earth 500 years ago. And he spent more time with Sanatana Goswami than anyone else, 2 months straight, instructing him on the absolute knowledge of Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Dharma, Srimad Bhagavatam. So, this prayer is the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavata Mahima Stotram. It comes from a book that he wrote called Sri Krishna Lila book, simple, vocative Sanskrit, describing the mentions each pastime of Krishna in Vrindavan, and gives.
Here's what I found.
You're not eligible for knowing about Krishna in Vrindavan. You haven't got a soul yet. Oh, she found Sanskrit. She had a whole list of Sanskrit things. Smart. Okay. So in this prayer, Sanatana Goswami is giving the details, the essence of the details of what this book is that we're about to hear. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drik Prada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths. You are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable poured within a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguru Man Mahadana Man Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin atini chochata kada hanamun chagadachin mam premna rit kantayos pura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we've reached the 11th canto. There's 12 cantos in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we reached the 11th canto. And in this canto, the great sages, the Nava Yogendras, the nine of the 100 sons of Rishabdev, who was an incarnation of Krishna. They were the best of the sons, they became paramahamsas, means with the absolute truth. They didn't have anything else in their consciousness, and they traveled and enlightened others about the absolute truth. So they came upon a great king, Nimi, king of Videha, and he was performing a great sacrifice. And when they came in, he recognized that these are very, very elevated souls, and he inquired from them, from each one of them. And each one of them takes a topic, and now the first of them, Kavi, is explaining Dharma, what religion actually is. So we are on text 42, and Kavi is continuing. Oh, Bhakti, Parishena, Nu Bhavo Viraktir. This is a very famous verse. Okay. Text 42, chapter 2, text Canto 11. Kavi is speaking, one of the nine Yogendras. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things, these three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the same way that pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger come simultaneously and increasingly with each bite for a person engaged in eating. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this analogy as follows. Bhakti, or devotion, may be compared to tushti, satisfaction, because they both take the form of pleasure, bhava, experience of the Supreme Lord, and pushti, nourishment, are analogous because both sustain one's life. Detachment and chud apaya, cessation of hunger, may be compared because both free one from further hankering, Hare Krishna, so that one may experience shanti, or peace. Shanti, shanti, shanti. A person who is eating not only becomes uninterested in other activities, but increasingly becomes uninterested in the food itself, according to his satisfaction. On the other hand, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, although one who is experiencing the blissful personality of Godhead Krishna becomes uninterested in anything other than Krishna, his attachment to Krishna increases at every moment. Therefore, it is to be understood that the transcendental beauty and qualities of the Supreme Lord are not material, since one never becomes satiated by relishing the bliss of the Supreme Lord. The word virakti is very significant in this verse. Virakti means detachment, whereas tyaga means renunciation. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the word renunciation can be used in a situation in which one considers giving up an enjoyable object. But by considering everything to be potential paraphernalia in the service of Lord Krishna, as described in the previous verse, one need not give thought to renunciation, for one uses everything in the proper way in the service of the Lord. Yukta vairagyam uchite. The very pleasant analogy of a good meal is given in this verse. A hungry man, busily consuming a sumptuous plate of food, is not interested in anything else happening around him. In fact, he considers any other topic or activity a disturbance to his concentration on the delicious meal. Similarly, as one advances in Krishna consciousness, one considers anything unrelated to the devotional service of Krishna an obnoxious disturbance. Such concentrated love of Godhead has been described in the second canto of the Bhagavatam by the words Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. Srimad-Bhagavatam 2:3-10. One should not make an artificial show of renouncing the material world. Rather, one should systematically train the mind to see everything as an expansion of the opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as a hungry, materialistic man, upon seeing sumptuous food, immediately desires to put it in his mouth, an advanced devotee of Krishna, upon seeing a material object, immediately becomes eager to use it for the pleasure of Krishna. Without a spontaneous hunger to engage everything in the service of Krishna and to dive deeper and deeper into the ocean of love of Krishna, so-called realization of God or loose talk about so-called religious life is irrelevant to the actual experience of entering the kingdom of God. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the path of Bhakti Yoga is so joyful and practical that even in the stage of sadhana bhakti, in which one follows rules and regulations without an advanced understanding, one can perceive the ultimate result. As stated by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 187, Iha yasya harir dasye karmana manasa gira nikila saptibasta su jivan mukta su uchite. He walks a liberated soul as soon as we said it. It's calling liberated souls. As soon as one surrenders to the Supreme Lord Krishna, prapadyamanasya, giving up all other activities, viraktir anyatra cha, one is immediately to be considered a liberated soul, jivan mukta. The Supreme Lord Krishna is so merciful that when a living entity understands that the personality of Krishna is the source of everything and surrenders to the Lord, Krishna personally takes charge of him and reveals to him within his heart that he is under the Lord's full protection. Thus, devotion, direct experience of the personality of Godhead, and detachment from other objects become manifest even in the beginning stage of Bhakti Yoga, since Bhakti Yoga begins at the point of liberation. Other processes have as their final goal salvation or liberation, but according to Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja Ahang Tvam Sarvapapibhyo Mokshayishami Ma Shuchaha. If one surrenders to Krishna, one is immediately liberated and thus begins his career as a transcendental devotee with complete confidence in the Lord's protection. Text 43. My dear King, the devotee who worships the lotus feet of the infallible personality of Godhead with constant endeavor thus achieves unflinching devotion, detachment, and experienced knowledge of the personality of Godhead. In this way, the successful devotee of the Lord achieves supreme spiritual peace. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 271, Bihaya kaman yaksarvan pumangs charati nispriha nirmamo nidahankara sashantim adhigachtati. A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and who is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. Srila Prabhupada comments, to become desireless means not to desire anything for sense gratification. In other words, desire for becoming Krishna conscious is actually desirelessness. I'll repeat that. To become desireless means not to desire anything for sense gratification. In other words, desire for becoming Krishna conscious is actually desirelessness. There is a similar statement in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 19, 149. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atayeva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakaleya Shanta. Because a devotee of Lord Krishna is desireless, he is peaceful. Fruitive workers desire material enjoyment. Jnanis desire liberation. And yogis desire material opulence. Therefore, they are all lusty and cannot be peaceful. Generally, there are three classes of living entities afflicted with selfish desire. These are the bhuktikami, muktikami, and siddhikami. Bhuktikami refers to those ordinary persons who desire money and everything money can buy. Such a primitive mentality is based on the desire to enjoy money, sex, and social prestige. When a living being becomes frustrated with this hallucination, he takes to the path of speculative philosophy and analytically tries to track down the source of illusion. Such a person is called muktikami because he desires to negate material illusion and merge into an impersonal spiritual state free from anxiety. The muktikami is also motivated by personal desire, although the desire is somewhat more elevated. Similarly, the siddhikami, or the mystic yogi, who desires the speculative powers of mystic yoga, such as reaching one's hand across the world, or making oneself smaller than the smallest, or lighter than the lightest, is also infected by material or spirit or selfish desire. Therefore it is said, sakali ashanta. If one has any personal desire, whether it be material, philosophical, or mystic, he will be ashanta, or ultimately frustrated, because he will see himself as the central object of satisfaction. This egocentric concept is in itself illusory and therefore ultimately frustrating. On the other hand, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atayeva Shanta. A devotee of Lord Krishna is Nishkama. He has no personal desire. His only desire is to please Krishna. Lord Shiva himself has praised this outstanding quality of the pure devotees of the Lord by stating, Narayana Padak Sarve Na Kutaschana Bibyati Sarva Pagarva Narakeshu Abhitulyarta Darshinaha. A person who is devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, is not afraid of anything. Elevation to the heavenly kingdom, condemnation to hell, and liberation from material bondage all appear the same to a devotee. Bhagavatam 6:17, 28. Although the impersonalist philosopher proposes that everything is one, the devotee of the Lord is actually Tulyarta Darshi, or empowered with the vision of oneness. The devotee sees everything as the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore desires to engage everything in the service of the Lord, for the Lord's satisfaction. Since the devotee does not see anything as vitiya, or outside the scope of the Lord's potency, he is happy in any situation. Having no personal desire, the devotee of Krishna is actually shanta, or peaceful, because he has achieved the perfection of life, love of Krishna. He is actually situated in his eternal constitutional position under the direct shelter and protection of the omnipotent Parameshwara, Krishna. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, this verse ends the answer given by the first of the 9 Yogendras, Kavi, to Maharaj Nimi's first question, what is the highest goal? Good. Sorry. You can come and join our team. Took my eye off the ball. You got to keep your eye on the ball, you know. Isn't it? You got to keep your eye on the ball. That's it. That's what it means. The whole thing means keep your eye on the ball. Keep Krishna in your mind constantly. Okay, text 44. Maharaj Nimi said, "Now, please tell me in greater detail about the devotees of the Supreme Lord. What are the natural symptoms by which I can distinguish between the most advanced devotees, those on the middle level, and those who are neophytes? What are the typical religious activities of a Vaishnava, and how does he speak? Specifically, please describe those symptoms and characteristics by which Vaishnavas become dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Purport. The great sage Kavi has informed King Nimi about the general external symptoms of a devotee of the Lord, namely his appearance, personal qualities, and activities. But now, King Nimi asks how to make further distinctions among the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that the first class, second class, and lower class Vaishnavas can be clearly identified. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, Krishneti yasya giritam manasendriyeta. One should mentally honor any devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. Upadeshamrita 5. Any living entity who is faithfully chanting the holy name of Krishna is to be considered a Vaishnava, and at least within the mind is to be offered respect. But for practical advancement in Krishna consciousness, one should associate at least with a second-class devotee. And if one can receive the mercy of a first-class devotee of the Lord, one's perfection is very easily guaranteed. Thus, Nimi Maharaj is humbly inquiring, what are the character, behavior, and speech of devotees? The king wants to know the particular symptoms of body, speech, mind, and speech, by which the different categories, Uttama Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Kanishta Adhikari, are clearly identified. In response to the king's inquiry, another of the Nava-Yogendras, named Havis, will give a further elaboration of the science of Krishna consciousness. Text 45. Sri Havis said, the most advanced devotee can see within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he sees systematically everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 6:30, the Lord says, Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Srila Prabhupada comments, a person in Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere, and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material nature, but in each and every instance he is conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is the manifestation of Krishna's energy. Nothing can exist without Krishna, and Krishna is the Lord of everything. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. The qualification for seeing Krishna everywhere is stated in the Brahma Samhita 5:38. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu bilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunasarupam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord, Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shyamasundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. A devotee of the highest level of spiritual qualification is glorified for the expansiveness of his spiritual vision. For example, when the stalwart demon Hiranyakashipu questioned his self-realized son, Prahlad Maharaj, as to the whereabouts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlad, being a Mahabhagavata, or pure devotee, answered straightforwardly that the Supreme Lord is everywhere. The demoniac father then asked if God was in the pillar of the palace. When Prahlad answered yes, Hiranyakashipu, being a bona fide demon, struck the pillar with his sword, trying to kill God, or at least disprove his existence. Then Lord Nrisinghadev, the most ferocious form of the Supreme Lord, immediately appeared and finished forever the illicit program of Hiranyakashipu. Thus Prahlad Maharaj can be accepted as an Uttama Adhikari devotee. A pure devotee is completely free from the tendency to enjoy things separately from the Lord's service. He does not see anything in the universe as unfavorable, because he sees everything as the expanded potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee's purpose in existing is to give pleasure somehow or other to the Supreme Lord. Thus, everything that a pure devotee experiences moment to moment increases his ecstatic love and desire to satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord. The three modes of material nature torment the conditioned soul, who absorbs his mind in the separated material energy of the Lord. The function of this separated energy, Bina Prakriti, is to take the living entity away from the reality, which is that everything is within Krishna, and Krishna is within everything. Being covered by gross ignorance, the bewildered conditioned soul believes that only the objects of his own limited vision actually exist. Sometimes such foolish persons speculate that if a tree falls in a forest with no one to hear it, there will actually be no sound. Tell that to the tree. The conditioned souls do not consider that since the Supreme Personality, tell that to the chipmunk that it just fell on me. The conditioned souls do not consider that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all-pervading, there is no question of no one's hearing the Lord, always hears. I'll say that again. The conditioned souls do not consider that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all-pervading, there is no question of no one's hearing. The Lord always hears. As stated in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 13:14, Sarvatak Shrutima Loke. The Supreme Lord hears everything. He is Upadrashta, the witness of everything. Bhagavad Gita 13:23. In this verse, the word Bhagavatotama, the most advanced devotee, indicates that there are those who are not gross materialists, but who are not the highest devotees. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, those who cannot properly distinguish between devotees and non-devotees, and who therefore never worship the pure devotees of the Lord, are to be known as Kanishta Adhikaris, devotees on the lowest stage of devotional service. Such Kanishta Adhikaris engage in worship of the Supreme Lord, especially in the temple, but are indifferent to the Lord's devotees. Thus they misunderstand this statement by Lord Shiva in the Padma Purana. Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param tasmad paratanam devi tadiyanam samacharam. O Devi, the most exalted system of worship is the worship of Lord Vishnu. Greater than that is the worship of Tadiya, or anything belonging to Vishnu. Srila Prabhupada comments on this verse. Lord Vishnu is Satchidananda Vigraha. Similarly, the most confidential servant of Krishna, the spiritual master, and all devotees of Vishnu are Tadiya. The Satchidananda Vigraha, Guru, Vaishnavas, and things used by them must be considered Tadiya, and without a doubt worshipable by all living beings. Madhya Lila 12:38 purport. Typically, the Kanishta Adhikari is eager to exchange his materialistic qualifications in the service of a Lord, mistaking such material expertise to be the sign of advanced devotion. I'll repeat that one. This is a really good one. Typically, the Kanishta Adhikari is eager to engage his materialistic qualifications in the service of the Lord, mistaking such material expertise to be the sign of advanced devotion. But by continuing to serve the Supreme Lord and the devotees engaged in propagating the Lord's mission, the Kanishta Adhikari also advances in his realization and comes to the stage of dedicating his activities to helping more advanced Vaishnavas. Even such Kanishta Adhikaris can help ordinary living entities by their association, since at least the Kanishta Adhikaris have faith. His faith, the Kanishta Adhikari gradually becomes inimical to those who are opposed to the Lord. As he gradually becomes more and more inimical to those who hate the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and becomes more attracted to friendship with other faithful devotees, Kanishta Adhikari approaches the second-class stage called Madhyama. In the Madhyama stage, the Vaishnava sees the Lord as the cause of all causes and the chief goal of everyone's loving propensity. He sees the Vaishnavas as his only friends within this morbid world, and is eager to bring innocent people within the shelter of a Vaishnava society. Also, a Madhyama Adhikari strictly avoids associating with the self-proclaimed enemies of God. When such an intermediate qualification becomes mature, the concept of supreme qualification begins to present itself. That is, one comes to the stage of Uttama Adhikari. A Kanishta Adhikari guru, one who is simply attached to performing religious ceremonies and worshipping the deity, without appreciation for other Vaishnavas, especially those who are preaching the message of the Lord, will especially appeal to persons interested in dry cultivation of knowledge. As a living entity develops, devotes himself to regulated work, and nobly tries to detach himself from the fruits of his work. Through such regulated detached work, knowledge or wisdom gradually arises. As knowledge or wisdom becomes prominent, the pious materialist becomes attracted to altruistic and charitable work and gives up gross sinful activities. If he is fortunate, he then becomes favorable to the Lord. Desiring a more intellectual understanding of devotional service, such a pious materialist may seek shelter at the feet of a Kanishta Adhikari. If able to advance to the Madhyam qualification, he then becomes attracted to a Vaishnava actively engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness. And when fully mature on the platform of intermediate devotion, he becomes attracted to the Mahabhagavat level and is awarded a glimpse of the exalted position of the Mahabhagavat spiritual master by the grace of Krishna within his heart. If one grasps the Mahabhagavat, at this stage all of his actions, movements, and engagements in preaching are dedicated solely to the satisfaction of Krishna. The illusory potency Maya has no power to throw or cover such a purified living entity. In Upadeshamrita 5, Srila Rupa Goswami has described this stage of life as bhajana vigyam, ananyam, anya nindadi shunya vidam. A Mahabhagavata, being empowered by the Supreme Lord, Yogeshwar, is endowed with supernatural power to inspire and give success to the Madhyamadikari, who follows in his footsteps, and to elevate the Kanishta Adhikari gradually to the intermediate platform. Such devotional power springs automatically from the ocean of mercy found within the heart of a pure devotee. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out that a Mahabhagavata has no desire. Rather, he engages the Madhyamadikaris and Kanishta Adhikaris in preaching work to purify the polluted mentality of the inimical souls who were falsely imagining the material world to be separate from Krishna. Pretty clear, huh? Pretty clear. There are unfortunate living entities who are unable to understand the glory of a Kanishta Adhikari within the realm of devotional service. Important point. Because the tendency is to denigrate the Kanishta because it's lower than the Madhyam or the Uttama, without thinking these are all pure devotees. Even the Kanishta Adhikari is elevated. I'll repeat it again. There are unfortunate living entities who are unable to understand the glory of a Kanishta Adhikari within the realm of devotional service, have no praise, and cannot even begin to understand the most exalted stage, that of the Uttama Adhikari. Such unfortunate souls, attracted to impersonal, follow faithfully in the footsteps of Kamsa, Agha, Baka, and Putana, and are thus killed by Sri Hari. In this way, the community of sense gratifiers remains uninterested in service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and according to the individual perverted vision of so-called self-interest, each materialist chooses his own misfortune in the form of repeated birth and death in various types of material bodies. There are 8,400,000 species of material forms, and the materialistic living entities select the particular flavors of birth, old age, disease, and death they wish to inflict upon themselves under the hallucinations of so-called material progress. This is classic. This is classic literature, classic purport. There are 8,400,000 species of material forms, and the materialistic living entities select the particular flavors of birth, old age, disease, and death they wish to inflict upon themselves under the hallucinations of so-called material progress. It's a brilliant statement. The analogy is given that a lusty man, being agitated by sexual desire, sees the whole world as filled with sensuous women. In a similar way, a pure devotee of Krishna sees Krishna consciousness everywhere, although it may be temporarily covered. Thus one sees the world just as one sees himself, Atmavan Manyate Jagat. On this basis, one may argue that the vision of the Mahabhagavata is also illusioned, since the Bhagavatam has already stated throughout that those conditioned by the three modes of material nature are not at all Krishna conscious, but in fact are inimical to Krishna. But although the conditioned living entity may appear inimical to the Lord, the eternal, unalterable fact is that every living being is part and parcel of Krishna. Although one's ecstatic love for Krishna may now be covered by the influence of Maya, by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to the stage of Krishna consciousness. In fact, everyone is suffering the pangs of separation from Krishna, because the conditioned soul imagines that he has no eternal relationship with Krishna. He is unable to ascertain that all his miseries are due to this separation. This is Maya, or that which is not. Actually, to think that misery arises from anything other than separation from Krishna is to be an illusion. So when a pure devotee sees living entities suffering within this world, he correctly feels that just as he is suffering because of separation from Krishna, all other living beings are also suffering from separation from Krishna. The difference is that a pure devotee correctly ascertains the cause of his heartbreak, whereas the conditioned soul, bewildered by Maya, is unable to understand his eternal relationship with Krishna and the unlimited plan arising from neglect of that relationship. And the unlimited pain, and the unlimited pain. I'll read that again. This is a good statement. The difference is, I'll go back one more. So when a pure devotee sees living entities suffering within this world, he correctly feels that just as he is suffering because of separation from Krishna, all other living beings are also suffering from separation from Krishna. The difference is that a pure devotee correctly ascertains the cause of his heartbreak, whereas the conditioned soul, bewildered by Maya, is unable to understand his eternal relationship with Krishna and the unlimited pain arising from neglect of that relationship. Srila Jiva Goswami has quoted the following verses which illustrate the ecstatic feelings of the topmost devotees of the Lord. In the 10th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, 10:35-9, the goddesses of Braja speak as follows. Vanalatas tadava atmani vishnum vyanjayanta eva pushpavadaya yaha pranatabhara vitapa madhudara prema rishta danavo varishu sma. The creepers and trees of the forest, their branches weighed down by the rich coverings of flowers and fruits, seem to manifest Lord Vishnu within their hearts. Exhibiting this, they pour down rains of honey. Elsewhere in the 10th canto, Bhagavatam 10:21-15, it is said, Nadyastada tat upadarya mukunda gitam avartalak shitamano babamagna begaha alingana stagitam urmi bajaya murare grinanti pada yugalam kamalo parharaha. Hearing this song of Lord Mukunda's flute, the rivers then stopped their currents, although the minds of the rivers could still be ascertained from the presence of whirlpools. With the arms and lotus feet of Murari, taking help from the lotus plants, and thus he became trapped in their embrace. And in the last chapter, 15, the queens of Dwarka pray, Kurari vilapasi Kurari vipalasi tvam vitanidra nasheshe Sapiti jagati ratriam ishwaro gupta bodhaha Vayam ipasaki kachit gada nirvidacheta nalina nayana hasodhara lilek shitena. Dear Kurari, now it is very late at night. Everyone is sleeping. The whole world is now calm and peaceful. At this time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is sleeping also, although his knowledge is undisturbed by any circumstance. Then why are you not sleeping? Why are you lamenting like this throughout the whole night? Dear friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by his sweet smiling and attractive words, exactly as we are? Do those dealings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead pinch your heart as they do ours? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has also given Mother Yashoda Adhikari. For Mother Yashoda actually saw all living beings within the mouth of Krishna during the Lord's Vrindavan Leela. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also points out in his commentary, Atra Pashet iti tata darshana yogyataiva vibhikshita na tutata darshanasya sarva kalikata. In this verse, the word pashet, or one can see, does not mean that at every... Rather, it means that one has reached the exalted platform of devotional service on which he is fit to see, or is capable of seeing Krishna's form. If only those who constantly see the form of Krishna are to be considered Uttama Adhikaris, then Narada, Vyasa, and Shukadev cannot be considered the highest standard of pure devotional service, and therefore the real qualification is Tad Jidrik Shanikya, or having an overwhelming desire to see the Lord. Therefore the statement of Bhagavad Gita that a devotee should see Krishna everywhere, Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra, can be understood in terms of the example of a lusty man's thinking that the world is full of beautiful women. Similarly, one should become transcendentally so desirous of seeing the Lord that one can perceive within the entire universe nothing but Krishna and his potency. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. In Srila Prabhupada's correspondence in 1969 with Professor J.F. Stahl of the University of California, Srila Prabhupada claimed that all of his disciples who were strictly following the intense program of Krishna consciousness were in fact Sudurlabha Mahatmas, who were seeing Vasudeva Sarvam. In other words, if one is constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness with an intense desire to please the Lord and one day gain his association, it is to be understood that in one's life there is nothing but Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has warned us, however, that a mere theoretical or academic understanding that Krishna is everything does not qualify one as a first-class devotee. One must actually have developed love for Krishna. Therefore, it can be practically understood that anyone who enthusiastically adopts the Krishna consciousness program and eagerly participates in the preaching activities of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is acting on the platform of a Madhyama Adhikari devotee. Hare Krishna. When such a devotee becomes overwhelmed by his desire to serve Krishna and associate with the Lord, so much so that he is not attracted to anything else within the universe, he should be understood to be an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll stop there. The reading. Now it's the magic open mic section of our program. Take anything they heard, and that's a lot to take in what we just heard. It's hard enough to follow what the speaker remember something, but anything that's stuck in your mind or came out that you want to reflect on, share, or have further discussion on, or inquire about, feel free. I think that's the deepest explanation of Uttam and Madhyam and Kanishta that we have in our books, that purport. Kind of ties up the loose ends, makes it clear. Okay, who's got the courage? Go ahead. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Yes. She gives us enough intelligence by her cooking, you know. Now we're going to find out where it's coming from.
No, I just remember.
Kalpataru, Devi
Maharaja,
Dasi.
I just thought that last paragraph, almost last, that, you know, seeing it, that it doesn't mean that you see Krishna everywhere, but you rather, by your devotional service, and see that service to Krishna everywhere.
You have such a strong desire to see Krishna at every second that you see everything as a means to satisfy Krishna. And in this way, you see Krishna, or you remember Krishna, every time you see everything, anything, or touch anything, because it's all meant to be used in the service of Krishna. That's the Uttam Adhikari platform. Thank you.
I'll just reflect on the
Bhakti Patrick, okay, go ahead. Go for it.
Section when it was explaining kind of the process of coming into Krishna consciousness and into the different stages of Vaishnavism. It was just really kind of far out to hear, because it was like explaining exactly what I had been through in my own journey here, and it was just like seeing those connections. I was like, this is amazing.
Yes. That's realization. To hear, to see that you're actually following the process and the process of working. That's the encouragement that we all need. And therefore we get encouraged by hearing these books. Yes, go ahead, Abhaya. You just came out of your stupor of disease and now you're healthy and seeing Krishna everywhere. Go ahead. Lay it on us.
I was appreciating one of the last things near to the end that we read, how the devotees understand that their actual cause of misery is separation from Krishna. And also that the pure devotees, they understand that, and they understand that's why every living entity is suffering also.
That's a very lovely point. That's how, what is that verse? Oh, I hope I can remember it. It's in the 6th chapter. Dvapayen Atmaupanyena Sarvatra. Atmaupanyena Sarvatra Samapashati Yorjana Sukham Varyadukam Sayogi Paramo Mata. This is the Paramo. Yogi Paramo Mata, the greatest yogi. He sees the equality of all living beings in their happiness and distress. And therefore he sees they're the same as everyone else. Something like that, isn't it? Atmaupamyena Sarvatra. 7 Papaji Yorjana. Somebody remember the number? You remember the number? 30. Close. 32. You got it. Nailed it. Sage. Atmalpam yena sarvatra samam pashati yorjana sukham va yadiva dukam sayugi padamo mataha. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. That's what that means. Purport. One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. The perfect yogi knows that the living being, who is conditioned by the modes of material nature, is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world. He's the real peacemaker. And he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Nachatasman manusheshu kachjin me priyatkritama. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, Patrick.
Yes, that whole verse and purport that you just brought up, as well as a lot of this reading itself, is kind of, is very directly related with kind of a thought that I preached to myself a lot, and it even came up into my mind today, especially when I'm feeling challenged or feeling as though there's like difficulty for myself, and I want to kind of have motivation to push forward. And it's just that, it's not just for ourselves. That carrying out this service and doing these things is for the betterment of all the people that don't have the chance to hear about Krishna. So to go out and do this for them is better than to kind of think about just for ourselves. It's more important to be here and push forward through all these hard things, because there's some people that never hear Krishna's name.
You got it. Very well said. Imagine you couldn't say that the first day you came here. You couldn't have gotten it out. You'd have known something, but you started to talk and it went, oh no, what? You know, but you just said it all the way through. Fantastic. Making nice advancement. Well, he's still crying a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we cannot see the equality of the soul as long as we are thinking we are the body. This is the real problem in the world today. Everyone is identifying with their body. and therefore they see somebody with a different kind of body, and they see him differently, and therefore there's competition and all those things, you know. Pretty urgent, urgently needed in the world. The whole thing's just fracturing to the point where everyone's suspicious of everyone else. You can't go out on the street, you're going to get shot by somebody for some reason. Doesn't make any difference what you are nowadays. You know. Crazy. So this is our burden of love. Burden of love. To tolerate those persons who don't understand and just keep looking for those persons who are reasonable and honest enough to hear the truth and give it to them. Just repeat what we've heard from Srila Prabhupada, the great acharyas, the great teachers in our line, and in that way spread this knowledge and loving service. Francois, what do you think about all this? You've been sitting here listening to this whole thing.
Just absorbing. It's fascinating. It's my first day. It's a lot to process. So.
Yeah, I thought the other day that in general in the world today, people are so mundane and they're thinking about such, uninteresting, dull things that they don't think elevated thoughts like this. So one page of this book is more deep than the whole world, the whole lifetime of a thought of a materialistic person. Because all they're thinking about is, television and women and their booze and their this and their that. And they're always thinking about those things, and they can't think anything that will take them up, to, clean them off, purify them themselves.
It's really interesting.
The last purport we just read.
What you just read.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And inside we're all the same. Inside we're all the same. So to not think like that means that the power of the illusory energy is very strong. The power of illusion and power of ignorance is very strong now in this day and age, especially.
I think the media plays a big role. I think.
Yeah.
The media play a very big role. They contribute to a lot of.
Yeah.
Keep people's minds busy.
Yeah. Everybody has to know everything, but unfortunately there's a lot of negativity out there, so everyone's just meditating on the negativity.
Distractions.
Yeah, and there are nice things going on, and there are nice people, but you don't hear about them. All you hear about, yeah, that's right. All you hear about it is, the latest person who killed somebody or did some nonsense or did something outrageous. Yeah, it's nice. That's nice. That's why these pastimes of Krishna and Krishna's devotees and what they think about and what they talk about and what they do, if you absorb yourself, not just in hearing about them, but doing them yourself, then you become on a completely different plane of existence, spiritual plane of existence. And that's the test of whether you're actually on the spiritual plane of existence. You become satisfied. And not just satisfied in terms of peaceful, you become ecstatically satisfied. But that was what we heard in the beginning, remember? You eat something and you become, your hunger becomes nourished, you become happy, and you become detached from the very thing, the food itself, because now you're satisfied. But with Krishna consciousness, not only do you get all those things, but you get more attached to the food or more attached to Krishna. That's the difference. Therefore, it's dynamic and it's not static. It's a kind of pleasure, it's a kind of happiness that keeps, it's like they say, there's an old saying, the gift that keeps on giving. Krishna consciousness, the gift that keeps on giving. something from the cyberspace? Prana, go ahead.
I was going to say, this sentence, typically the Kanishta Adhikari is eager to engage his materialistic qualifications in the service of the Lord, mistaking such material expertise to be the sign of advanced devotion. And I was just thinking as an addendum to that also, mistaking such whatever material skills as expertise, and thus to be a sign of devotion. And I think I fit into that.
Yeah, that materialistic devotee thinks that a person who is expert is advanced. And what happens is, if you follow that through and are not careful, you'll see a materialist who's expert at doing something, more expert at doing something than a devotee is, and you'll think they're more advanced. And you'll start to be very subtly attracted to them and less attracted to the devotees. Because devotees tend to be very simple and sometimes not so sophisticated materially. So we have to guard against that. That's a very important thing, very important. Because what happens is, then you'll think you're better than others. I was reading today where Lord Chaitanya was glorifying Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami, had this disease in his body, and he had these oozing sores, and Lord Chaitanya would embrace him, and the sores, the fluid from the sores would get on the body of the Lord, and Sanatana Goswami was thinking that this is the biggest offense he could make, and he was ready to commit suicide and all that. But then the Lord tested him. He asked him to come over to a certain place, and then Sanatana Goswami, he rather than go by the temple road, he went through the beach, because he didn't want to get close to the pujaris and priests, because he thought he would make an offense if they touched him by mistake. So he came along the beach, and this was at noontime. He purposefully called him at noon, because he knew what he would do. That he went, and he had blisters in the bottom of the seat. The sand was so hot, And so Lord Chaitanya said, "Which way did you come?" And he said, "I came by the way of the beach." And he said, "Why didn't you go by the way of the road over there? It was cool." He said, "If I do that, then I'll make an offense." And then he said, "But now you have blisters on your feet and you can't even walk. How did you do that?" He said, "I didn't feel any pain." And then Lord Chaitanya says, "Oh." He said, then Sanatana Goswami said something to the effect that, it's offensive for you to touch me. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, you don't understand. I'm taking care of you like you're my little children. And therefore, nothing you do makes me feel bad. He said, like the mother, the baby, the stool and urine touches the body of the mother, it doesn't make her feel bad. It's just the opposite. She feels ecstasy cleaning the child. This is love. So he said, so when I, touch your body, I don't smell anything bad. I smell a guru and sandalwood pulp and camphor mixed together in a very lovely. And then he said, and even if I were to perceive those things, I'm a sannyasi. So I'm not supposed to see things in terms of good or bad. I'm supposed to be neutral. So even if I was to see you like that, I would be neglecting my duty as a sannyasi. And then Sanatan got completely blown away. And then Lord Chaitanya just grabbed him in an embrace, and all of his sores went away, and his body became lustrous like gold. This is a historical event. This is not a story. This actually happened. Eyewitnesses.
We have just one. There's one just saying hi. Henry Dom Hurry Dama. I remember Maharaj so well from our days at the London Soho Temple.
Oh, Haridam.
Yes.
It's Haridam. Haribo Haridam.
I offer you my obeisances, Maharaj. Thank you for this great service. Yours, Haridama Dada.
Wow. Thank you, Haridam.
And then Shweta Dweep has also left a comment. In 45 purport, it is stated that, quote, such Kanishta Adhikaris engage in worship of the Supreme Lord, especially in the temple, but are indifferent to the Lord's devotees. Thus, they misunderstand this statement by Lord Shiva in the Padma Purana. How do they misunderstand statement by Lord Shiva? Also, are these qualifications mentioned here in verse 45, the qualification of a guru, as we also hear about Kanishta Guru in the purport to 45, to verse 45?
You're thinking that one cannot be a guru unless they're on the Uttamakari platform? Is that what he's thinking? It's not clear. Read it again clearly.
Yes.
Let me see. How to read. In 40, oh my God, I see myself. Oh, wow. Shiv Kumar. In 45 purport, it is stated that, quote, such Kanishta Adhikaris engage in worship of the Supreme Lord, especially in the temple, but are indifferent to the Lord's devotees. Thus, they misunderstand this statement by Lord Shiva in the Padma Purana. So what is that statement in the Padma Purana? Anaradhanam Charanam Vishnu Aradhanam Panam Tasmat Tadiyanam Samasaram. Well, it means that the neophyte devotee doesn't see those things in relationship with the deity as good or better than the deity. They just worship the deity. Like a very entrenched Kanishta Adhikari will worship the form of the deity and won't be able to worship the deity paraphernalia. Therefore, sometimes you'll see them offering some, little flower that's the bottom of the barrel in the arti. Remember I told you that? When was it? A few years ago. I said, see to it that there's a nice flower, and at least in the arti. It's like that. They just can't see that. They don't see that this is Krishna, really see Krishna, and then they don't make the quality of everything around Krishna elevated. And then if you keep expanding that idea, then the devotees of Krishna, they're even more dear to Krishna, and therefore they should be giving more respect to the devotees than Krishna. Therefore they are indifferent to the Lord's devotees. That's what it says here. In that way they're indifferent to the devotees. And it's very bad because the devotees are more dear to Krishna than Krishna. Krishna says that the devotees are more dear to me than I am than myself. Gopi Bharta Padakamalayur Das Anudas Anudas. So you serve my devotee, servant of my devotee, of the servant of the servant. And then more removed from Krishna, the person you're serving, that makes you more elevated. And the proof is that the person who's in that consciousness, who's seeing the paraphernalia of Krishna, to be even more dear than Krishna, is they can be happy all the time. They're not just happy when they're seeing the deity and then they turn away from the deity and right? So it's something like that. Does that make sense, Panditji?
Yeah, I think hang up is on the word misunderstand. It says
they misunderstand this statement by Lord Shiva in the Padma Purana.
Seems like they just don't get it at all.
Yeah, they don't get it. They don't get it that the paraphernalia, that the Lord, that the devotee is also paraphernalia of the Lord, and therefore they should give, more respect to the devotees, as much respect or more respect to the devotees, and worship the devotees. That's it. And then he says, also, are these qualifications mentioned? I got a lot of things coming up here, all kinds of hearts and love bombs and going thumbs up. Okay. Also, are these qualifications mentioned here in verse 45, the qualification of a guru, as we also hear about Kanishta Guru in the purport to verse 45? That's not clear. That's not clear. Okay. Jai Shri has something to say. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri. Question. Are devotees... I'm watching myself. This is too strange, It's like, this is like, video therapy or something. No, I don't look like that. No, stop it. Okay. Question. Are devotees who only... there's a lag, so I'm seeing myself do what I'm seeing myself doing what I'm doing a little bit after I do it. Okay. This is Jai Shri. Question. Are devotees who only interested and engaged in deity worship in temple considered the Kanishta Adhikari devotee, even though they are fully dedicated to this service? Can we say outreach service is more important than deity service? There is always a difference of opinion and debate on the priority of service, temple deity service versus outreach preaching service. How to balance the two sides? Okay, this is a very good question. It's the consciousness. It's the consciousness. A person can be worshipping the deity and be in Maya, or a person can be doing outreach preaching and be in Maya. It's the consciousness. Generally speaking, it takes a person who's more advanced to go out and take risk and the discomfort that you have to go through to meet people who are inimical and try to convince them. It's difficult, very opulent, it's always very fragrant, it's always very fresh, and you're associating directly with Krishna. But if you're in a bad consciousness, still you can take something for granted and be Kanishta. So the Kanishta Adhikari is one who is worshipping the deity but doesn't have a taste for doing anything else. Is not attached to hearing about Krishna, not attached to trying to bring devotees in to see the deities and give them the pleasure that you're getting from being with the deity. But actually, if you're worshipping the deity, but you're worshipping the deity in the mood of making the deity so beautiful that when someone comes in, they'll immediately become a devotee, that's also Sankirtan. That's also. So it's the consciousness. It's not the external activity. But in general, it's a fact that the outreach preaching is more important, because it's what pleases Lord Chaitanya most, because he wants to deliver the conditioned soul. What is that verse? 9th canto. I'm starting to lose my voice, using it too heavy. 9th canto, remember that? 9-4, 9464. Is Lord Vishnu talking?
O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination. I don't.
You're just saying into the ether.
I was just seeing if that was the right one. O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and my supreme opulences.
Oh, go ahead. Oh yeah, let me read the purport. I mean, I'm just really attached. I've got one over here. Oh good, I don't see myself here. O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and my supreme opulences. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient, but to enjoy His transcendental bliss, He requires the cooperation of His devotees. In Vrindavan, for example, although Lord Krishna is full in Himself, He wants the cooperation of His devotees, like the cowherd boys and gopis, to increase His transcendental bliss. Such pure devotees who can increase the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are certainly most dear to Him. Not only does the Supreme Personality of Godhead enjoy the company of His devotees, but because He is unlimited, He wants to increase His devotees unlimitedly. Thus, He descends to the material world to induce the non-devotees and rebellious living entities to return home, back to Godhead. He requests them to surrender unto Him because, unlimited as He is, He wants to increase His devotees unlimitedly. The Krishna consciousness movement is an attempt to increase the number of pure devotees of the Supreme Lord more and more. It is certain that a devotee who helps in this endeavor to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes indirectly a controller of the Supreme Lord. That's it. Although the Supreme Lord is full in 6 opulences, He does not feel transcendental bliss without His devotees. And that's why we should never paint Krishna alone. An example that may be cited is, in this regard, is that if a very rich man does not have sons in a family, he does not feel happiness. Indeed, sometimes a rich man adopts a son to complete his happiness. The science of transcendental bliss is known to the pure devotee. Therefore, the pure devotee is always engaged in increasing the transcendental happiness of the Lord. And there's another example that I just heard from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I will relate to you, and then we'll stop. Lord Chaitanya, I think I told this story already. Anyway, I'll say it again. It's quite befitting. Lord Chaitanya used to come to Haridas Thakur every day and visit him and bring him prasadam. So one day he came to Haridas and he was in anxiety. And he said, Haridas, how will the living entities be delivered? I'm so much in anxiety about this. And then Haridas Thakur said, my Lord, don't be in anxiety. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, this is service. The devotee acts in such a way to try to reduce the anxiety that Lord Chaitanya feels, seeing the suffering conditioned souls. Then automatically he becomes a confidential devotee. So in that sense, it is more elevated, because it's more satisfying to the Lord. but you don't neglect the deity at the same time. Anyway, Jayashree, I hope that gives some information to help quell the differences of opinion about this subject. Okay, I'm going to stop now because it's getting late and I have to go to bed early because I've got to do my recording tomorrow morning with a voice that works. Francois, it's very nice to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you'll come again. And thanks to all out there in cyberspace. Thanks for all of the nice, wonderful reflections. And thanks to Havis, one of the 9 Yogendras, who gave us those wonderful, descriptions of the different kinds of devotees and gave us more. And my godbrothers who compiled those wonderful purports to elevate our consciousness so that we can understand more deeply who we are and who we want to be, so that we can aspire to be with Krishna and to become his pure devotees. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow, 6 o'clock Central Time in America, right here in the live studios at Radha Lane. Hare Krishna. Thank you. See you tomorrow.